Good morning, everyone. Oh, not morning where you're at? That's okay, because you can have eggs for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Welcome to episode 21 of Three Eggs Are Better Than One. I am Brad Stanton, along with fellow eggs Bryant Haremza and Matt M. We want to thank everyone for listening to last week's episode. Another one of Matt's crazy questions. I mean, of course, we've never done any of those things, right, Matt? I love seeing our smiling faces. So why don't we kick it off with our good news of the week? What's your sunny side up? Who is it this week? Matt. Matt.
Woohoo! Going first. Well, I would like to celebrate opening day, Major League Baseball. As we record, the Yankees are 1-0 on their way to another World Series appearance. Happy about that.
To lose to the Dodgers.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen again. It might be safe to bet on the Dodgers returning to the World Series, though.
Billy started 1-0 as well. Went
I,
to extra innings and won 7-3.
I know the Mets are 0-1, so that pleases me because they stole one. They stole Juan Soto. So that was one thing. So Brian, I don't know if you had time to process. I sent you an image earlier today.
Yep, I got it right here.
Let's throw that up there. What is this odd looking orange, you might ask? That is a sumo orange, also known as sumo citrus. It is a Japanese born fruit, a hybrid mandarin orange. And let me tell you, it's the best orange you're ever going to have. Have you guys seen this in the stores?
No.
I genuinely just thought this was like a deformed orange.
Yeah, no, this so for those not seeing it, it looks like an orange, but it has like a double Audi belly button situation going on.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of easy to just pop off that top part of it and unpeel the rest of it. It's got a pretty thick skin. It is the best, tastiest, juiciest orange you're ever gonna have.
Don't judge a book by its cover, huh?
And 100%.
Hmm.
And it's also like I don't think you can get these all the time, so it's a little reminiscent for me for Seinfeld. The Mackinac peaches, gotta get them while you can get them. The
Put it in
sumo
your mouth
orange,
and someone
guys.
else eats it, though.
If anybody sees this in the store, I promise you it's delicious. Sunny side up.
That is good news. That is good news. How long are they available for?
I it might be less about the time and more about the where. Like I think my wife gets them only specifically at Whole Foods. Like she's not going to get them at the local grocery store, just at the, you know, the bougier Whole Foods type of place, I think.
So you
I don't know.
genuinely have to go somewhere special to get this.
Well, I don't know if Whole Foods is a special store. Might
I don't
be.
have any near me, so
Well,
Oh,
we
no
know.
kidding.
Yeah, right. We know you can't Uber there.
true.
And there's definitely not a Chipotle next door.
No,
Right.
no Chipotle.
Have you ever had the
Might be
cotton
a first.
candy flavored grapes?
Those are delicious. Yes. Those
No.
are amazing. Ah, you gotta try those.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they taste like cotton
They
candy.
taste like cotton candy. Yeah.
Like they engineered
I don't
grape?
think they're engineered. I think they're real deal grew that way.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. They're you can.
Google, I don't remember the name of them, but Google it. I think
Yeah.
they're just real.
You know what you just made me think of? Do you guys remember when there was purple ketchup?
Yeah, why was that?
Wasn't that? I thought that was like a food coloring thing. Like they did
I
like a
do
dye
think
in it.
the question was why. What is the quote from Jurassic Park? They spent all their energy trying to figure out if they could. Nobody stopped to answer the question if they should.
All right.
True.
Well, there you go. That's my sunny side up. I got baseball and I got oranges.
So everybody can see I'm wearing my new jersey. Finally came in. It's a Cooper DeJean jersey from the Super Bowl. No, it's not the one they wore. It's just a special edition one. I really like it. I don't know if my screen's really doing it justice here, but I really like it. But I'm going to tell you, but really my sunny side up this week is that two television shows are not based on my life. The Boys is one, and the other one is The White Lotus. Because honest to God, if my life is anything like the last episode of The White Lotus, I'm not going to give away spoilers. Those two shows are the most disturbing shows I've ever seen, and I don't know what mind they come from that people come up with some of these things, but I'm sure glad it's not based on my life.
I have a question on the boys. Do you have superpowers and I not know this, or
You know, I I don't know. For those of you at home that don't watch The Boys, there's a character called Homelander. He
oh
is
yeah.
supposed to be like your Superman type character. He is one of the most disturbing individuals I've ever seen on television and in film.
Mhm.
And I am just so glad none of this is based on my life. What a couple of disturbing shows. And if you've watched the last episode of The White Lotus, which would have been there is another one by now the time this airs, you'll know what I mean with that too.
All right, I have comments. I love White Lotus. Unfortunately, I've only had time to watch the first episode of the current season, which I think I even talked about a few weeks ago when we were talking in our last hatching session. We've just been backed up and I just haven't watched it, but I know that it's a headline maker and I'm going to get to that soon. So thank you for the no spoilers. Um, I love The Boys, great show. Homelander, great character. It also has a spin-off alert, Gen V. I hope you
Yep,
guys will watch that too, because that was very
I
good.
have.
And there'll be more of that show too. And they're making another spin-off called Vought Rising, which is something to do with the early days, I think. Um, but I want to mention, because this show is deserving of being mentioned, Banshee. Banshee was a Cinemax series, which I don't even know if they make Cinemax original series anymore, but you can find it on
Max.
Prime, I think. You can find it. It's the same guy who plays Homelander, Anthony Starr. Phenomenal under the radar show. I think it was like 4 seasons. Just a great sort of crime thriller, sort of almost actiony type of show. It was just way better than it deserved to be. I think Eliza Dushku was in it at some point, so that's a reason to watch it right there.
Mm.
Um, and there you go. There's my notes.
So, there's just a part of The Boys that I watch every time I watch an episode of The Boys. There's always one part in that show that makes me say, "Why in the world am I watching this?" And if you
Yeah,
watch the show, you know what I mean. It
it's
is just
it's
always
a,
something extremely disturbing that it's
Yes,
like, I don't know why I do this to myself. And you actually, it turns your stomach.
yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
It's a disturbing show. There's turnoffs in it, visual turnoffs. But it is like fantasy comic booky enough where you can, separate how you feel. It's not all that realistic, you know.
All episodes of Banshee are on Max, by the way.
Yeah, okay, well that makes sense because
Yeah,
Max,
Cinemax and HBO
right,
are Max.
right,
Yes,
but the Max came from Cinemax, yeah.
correct.
I feel like I've seen it on Prime um as well.
What do you got, Bryant?
My sunny side up this week actually pertains to the day we were recording here. It is my mom's birthday, and I just got back from having dinner with my mom. She turned a lovely 208 years old. She looks good for her age, as I like to tell her all the time. And it's just nice to be able to go out, spend some time with my mom, take her out to dinner, and just kind of catch up with her. We live in the same town, but with my job, it kind of keeps me preoccupied quite a bit. So this is a good chance to catch up with her. But just getting to go out and spend some time with my mom and take her out for dinner for her birthday. So happy as this airs, happy late birthday, but happy birthday, mom. So
Happy birthday, Mom. I met you as well. Happy birthday.
yeah,
Hard boiled time, huh?
Well,
there we go.
I don't have a whole lot this week, but I'm going to do something that's really, really, really basic at first. Something that you shouldn't bring up on any show. I'm going to talk about the weather for a minute here in Northeast. Today was a 55 degrees. Tomorrow is going to be 62 degrees. Saturday is 84 degrees. Sunday is 62 degrees. Monday is 73 degrees. And Tuesday is 55 degrees. This is why, we can't get used to anything around here. Okay. This is ridiculous. And Monday it's going to rain for a complete day. So I'm complaining about that. Yeah, I'm just complaining about the weather like an old man. Literally screaming at the clouds. Okay. Second, back to our favorite. Not I didn't get back to the deli this week. I had to work a different work schedule, but let's get to our favorite fitness guru. That'll remain nameless. That is now on day 12. I don't know if you remember, but last week we were on day 11. Now we're on day 12 as of yesterday. Congratulations. In 1 week, you went one more time and make sure you film it. Yeah, we're all very proud of you. And let's get this straight. I want everyone to succeed in their health adventures in life. Again, you don't have to film it, especially when you're obviously failing. Okay, you're failing. All right. How many of you hit snooze out there? Yeah, Matt?
So I haven't used an alarm clock since my son was born.
That's true. When you have young kids, they wake you up.
I don't use an alarm clock. I mean, if I have like if there's something specific going on, like, oh, I got to get up extra early to go to the airport or something, then yes, I'm gonna set an alarm. Um, but when I was an alarm clock user, I was not a snoozer. I just got up.
I dislike snooze. It does you no good. And that 9 minutes actually makes life worse. Now, I have talked about this on either this show or another show before, but my wife is a major snooze alarm clock person.
Snooze
So
abuser?
snooze abuser. So the first off, she always sets an alarm for a time that she has no business even trying to get up for. Okay. And then a half hour later, the same thing. There's no you never, ever, ever, ever get up at this time. But yet you set this alarm thinking you're going to. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get up. Well, guess what? Okay. Because the snooze thing really bothers me because I don't need to always get up early. A lot of times I do. But there's 2 days a week where I definitely don't. And I like to sleep, but it's not good sleep if I'm waking up every 20 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is with her alarm. So she's out of the room. And one of the weird circumstances where she forgot her phone and she's just doing something downstairs. So the alarm goes off. Okay, 7 something, which is fine. That's a little later. And I hit stop, not snooze, stop. Right? Great. 15 minutes later, another alarm goes off. So she has not only does she hit snooze, there are multiple alarms set.
Hmm. She's got yeah,
Unacceptable.
multi-tiered defense system. I get it.
All different sounds,
I
all
don't
different volumes.
I don't
And it's,
approve. I'm highly judgmental of this, but I understand why.
there is nothing she has to get up for that early. Okay. She early, like normal people, like she doesn't have to do it and she never does it. So hard boiled on her for that one. So that's all I got this week. We have, I think this is not a new topic, but it's not a topic we go all the time. Matt, overpriced eggs.
In fact, overpriced eggs is a new topic.
New topic alert.
New topic
Topic
alert.
alert. New topic alert. Overpriced eggs. What is that? It's something you outgrew. I don't know the correlation there, but that's what it is. So and it is my topic, and I struggled a little bit with this one, but here's where we're gonna go. And if you know me in real life, which you probably do if you listen to the show, you may have already heard me talk about this. Fantasy sports, big deal in this world, right? Sports betting, sports in general, sports betting, fantasy sports. I used to do it. I stopped. I outgrew it because I just wasn't enjoying it. And this is actually my PSA because I think most of you out there don't actually enjoy it. I think that you were brought up to enjoy sports. This participation element was introduced at some point in your life. It was fun for a time. Maybe you get to win. Maybe you get to win money. Maybe you get to win bragging rights. Maybe you get to make a funny name for your team. Maybe you get to trash talk in the forum with your buddies. But ultimately, you're taking something that you used to like for the sake of liking it, and you've added this stipulation that you need certain things to happen or else you're not going to enjoy it. And those things never happen because, in gambling wouldn't exist if the outcome favored the gambler, right? The house always wins, or else there'd be no such thing as betting and stuff. My PSA is I just think people would enjoy, if you really enjoy sports, you don't need to tack on fantasy. And, I didn't even fill out a March Madness grid, which is bonkers. I mean, most people, probably probably didn't even fill one out. I don't even know. It just doesn't matter to me. Like if I enjoy sports, I'm going to enjoy watching it. I don't need an added incentive. People always like to say, "Oh, well, it makes it more interesting." If it wasn't interesting enough for you, then do something else with your time. I'm a little hard boiled here.
Yeah, I don't agree.
I need you guys to say
I don't agree. I like fantasy. It's just something else to do. Yes, I understand what you're saying. I'm not trying to, I didn't join fantasy to watch more football. I feel like that's what you're saying. Well, I don't want to
no,
watch Tampa Bay versus Dallas, but now that I have stake in it, I'm going to.
no, I'm not. No, that's not really what I'm saying. I'm saying you, if it's something you actually enjoy watching, shouldn't you enjoy watching it without there being stakes?
But now you have a team, and it's not even that much money. We're talking about fantasy football here. We're not talking about gambling necessarily. We're talking about a couple $100 that it actually, it's more about bragging rights, isn't it?
Well, I did say that. I did say bragging rights, but to who? Do you remember who won 5 years ago?
Actually, I won 5 years ago, and I wish I still had the trophy, but I don't. I didn't play
Uh,
last year.
Bryant, I mean, we know you like amateur wrestling, but other sports, have you heard of those?
So I am in a fantasy football league. I do a fantasy football league every year with the same group of guys. So I enjoy doing it. It gives me naturally as a football fan, I where I live, I'm a Denver Broncos fan, but it gives me reason to cheer on other people. So like I can follow other players and stats and stuff like that. So I enjoy that aspect of it. But like I my state doesn't allow gambling, so I don't really know the gambling aspect of it. But fantasy wise, I do enjoy playing fantasy football. Like that's something I enjoy during the fall. So
No gambling at all in your state?
no, gambling's illegal in Nebraska. Yeah.
No casinos, huh?
No. So the way
I
they're
got a
trying
casino 11 minutes from me.
the way they're trying to get around it and build casinos is to say they're skill games, games of skill, not
Yeah,
actually gambling.
not games of chance.
Yeah.
So, well, this could almost be a whole episode, but Brad, I mean, it's not like, I mean, sure, Atlantic City is an exception, which is near both of us, but sports betting has only been legal
Mhm.
for a handful of years.
Oh yeah, it was not around
Yeah.
forever. It's fairly recent with the sports
Yeah.
betting, but you were
Now,
able to do it online, and it was like in the Virgin Islands or whatever it was, and that was
right.
legal. So that's been a number of years,
Yeah.
though.
What
True.
about Brian? What about this? Do you have the lottery?
Yeah, we do. We have the lottery and the lot and we have lotto and lottery.
Do you have like
But
Mega
that
Millions?
benefits older Pennsylvanians or whatever it is, or older Nebraskans.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
charity.
Do you have Mega Millions and
Yeah, we have
Powerball?
the Mega Millions, the Powerball, we have the
Yeah.
Nebraska Pick Five,
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
Day, and scratch tickets, I mean, galore around here.
That's gambling.
It is, but to our lawmakers, it's not.
But even so, 50 years ago it was here, and it was gambling, and everything was illegal here too.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, there you go. Those are my overpriced eggs.
Very good, Madam. I really don't know what the name has to do with anything, but
It was, I don't know.
interesting.
They both start with O. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it brings us to cracked eggs. And if anybody remembers what cracked eggs is, it's slip ups, which I just did there in this sentence. So, Bryant, what's your slip up this week?
My slip up has mostly to do with just being as I like to say, my early onset dementia and Alzheimer's. As I am very forgetful with names, where I work in sales, I meet dozens, hundreds of people, tens of people all the time. And remembering names or convincing myself that this person is someone else happens quite a bit to me. So usually it's walk into a store and I'm looking for Deb. Deb's not here. Okay. Can and then you have to try to play the Rolodex of who am I needing? Where do I go? Who is the person I actually need to talk to? So then you're just spouting off names and you feel more ridiculous as you go on. So to me, that's my slip up is names. I have a horrible time. Now, if I see you, I can point you out and I know exactly who you are. But if I have to call you by name, it's going to take me at least 3 or 4 months to finally get that into my brain.
Hmm.
As a salesperson, I'm really supposed to remember your name right away. I don't
Exactly.
though.
Yes.
I don't. And
Mm-hmm.
I I catch myself with that, and I need to do better at it.
I'm sure you do the same thing as me, which is a lot of just you point and go, you. I need to talk to you, and that's a lot of our on my side. It's I'm looking for them. I'm looking for you, and it's like no, I'm the same way. I gotta. It's hard when you and like Brad said, you meet. There's so many different people. It's just hard to remember that one name all the time.
Oh yeah.
So
What do you got, Matt?
No, I like hearing this because with both of you being salesmen, I would think that is one of the, if you're an actor, you got to be able to remember lines. If you're a salesman, you got to be able to remember names. I love talking about names.
Hmm.
Love talking about names. Bryant, it's actually pretty ballsy of you not remembering. You've got the dreaded T in your name.
Hmm.
You
It's
know,
true. And if
you're,
I had $1 for every person that called me Brian, oh,
you
I
know,
wouldn't need to work at all.
you're everyone you meet, you're handing them a monkey wrench
Hmm.
just in the initial handshake. Brad, do you ever introduce yourself as Bradley?
No.
Never.
Mm-mm.
No.
I do not. But however, I think that's how my emails end. If I had to change that to Brad because I don't know. Bradley, get out of here with that, right?
Bradley,
Bradley.
email from Bradley Stanton.
Bradley Stanton. That's good. That's
So for me, I'm going to go back into Time Machine. There was a movie that was on back in I think it was the 80s, it was called License to Drive. And it was starred Corey Haim, Corey Feldman. Um, I can't think of her name right now. She played Mercedes in it, and she's very famous, and I'll think of it in a minute. But he failed the the written part of the test, and but the power went out, and so because his twin sister got 100%, they passed him on the written test, and he was okay to go ahead and take the driving part of it. Now, the driving part of it was very difficult. He was with the dad from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and he had to really, really do well to pass the test. Now, that wasn't the case when I was 16 years old. We had an obstacle course. The obstacle course wasn't very big, and it really wasn't very difficult. So I had practiced for a number of weeks, and then my dad and I drove up there. I drove to the obstacle course. I get in the car, and right from the beginning, I don't know, everything just went wrong. So I'm driving down this little obstacle course, and the guy just starts yelling at me. He says, "Cut it, cut it, cut it." And I hit the guardrail. I hit the guardrail with my car in the driving test.
wow.
I backed up,
That's not good.
which I wasn't supposed to do that apparently either. Finished the driving test and parked. So instead of doing um, what do they call it? A parallel park, I just parked 3 feet from the curb. And as you can imagine, I did not pass the driver's test the first time.
Man.
So that was a slip up on my part. My dad wasn't too happy when we drove back. And I did drive. He still, though, let me drive back home because I still had my permit at the time.
Well, you still needed practice, clearly.
Yes, but who would want to get into a car with me? I
Mm.
couldn't even get it done on a 15-mile-an-hour obstacle course. So that is my slip up.
This
That
is
something you'll never forget.
I like this. So I'm gonna ask Bryant, when you had your driver's test, was it in a closed course, such as Brad just described, which is also what I had, or was it out on the road?
Oh
Field
no,
test.
you go out on the road, yeah. So you
Yeah,
go to the DMV and then you just drive the streets
yeah.
of North Platte, and that's
They
how they
just
test you.
they just navigate you, and you got to
Yep,
do it.
they have a way they take you to make sure you
Yeah.
use your turn signals, come to stops, do everything
Yeah.
like you would be driving through town.
See, that's absolutely how it should be. Some real world experience. Mine was like, just like you said, I don't know if I ever went over 10 miles an hour in my test. What am I being tested on here? Stop sign, left turn. I swear to God, there was like an incline and a decline, and it couldn't have been more than, 7 feet up.
Like I see that stuff in like movies, and I always just think that's a movie thing until I hear stories like this, and I go, "Oh,
And
that's real. You actually have a course." I just always thought it was kind of like me. You just get on the road and you drive through your town, and that's your test.
Bryant, that's what we do here on Three Eggs. We separate the fiction from the nonfiction.
This is true.
Yeah, both my kids were in obstacle courses.
Yeah.
Still that way. So many, many years later.
Crazy.
Did they hit the guardrail?
They all three pass. There is a story I told on the kickout crew of my son Frank, and it is a classic. Um, maybe one day I could replay that for you guys
Okay.
because it was one of the greatest driving tests of all time. What do you
So
have?
for my slip up, and again, this is not rehearsed, I actually wanted to tell a story of my dad's, and it has to do with a car. So that's kind of funny. It's not my story, it's my dad's story, but it's a wonderful story that I always thought was hilarious. This is probably 20 years ago, and it's a simple little story, but it's the epitome of my dad. It's a perfect microcosm of my dad. So he needed to get new windshield wipers. So he drove to an AutoZone or a store like that, one of those regular old car shops. He went inside, was looking through, they got them all hanging up there. You got to pick between them. And he couldn't quite remember like what size he needed or what type. And I don't know, you got to look through a book or computer. He just wasn't really sure what to get. So he said, "Oh, let me just go back to the car and I'll just take it right off the car and I'll bring it back inside and then I can measure them up against each other." So I went back out to the car, took off the wiper, went back inside, measured it, found the one he needed, paid for it, went back, just he threw it in the back seat, started driving home. Well, wouldn't you know it, it started to rain on on the way home. So what did he do? Naturally, instinctively, turn on the wipers. And what happened?
Hmm.
They were they were wiping no problem. When he went back out from the store, he went to the wrong car and ripped the wiper off of some poor bastard's car. Went back inside, and so this person is now they're driving home in the rainstorm
Oh
with
my,
one wiper.
what a prank your dad pulled. What a prank.
Oh, that is amazing.
He used to tell this story, and oh man, I love it. It made me laugh thinking about this. That was a big slip up, cracked egg of my dad's, and I thought that was a good one to retell.
That is I did not see that going there.
No, he didn't see it coming, right?
I definitely didn't see that corner. That is really good. That is a good story. You probably have 100 of those stories that you don't even realize, but
I
those
got
are
a lot of
good.
good dad stories for sure.
All right, it's omelet time. So we're going to talk today about the motion picture that never was, well, at least so far, Coyote versus Acme, which has been one of the biggest stories to come out of Hollywood in recent years. So what is Coyote versus Acme? So it's an unreleased American live action animated legal comedy film directed by Dave Green and written by Sammy Birch from the story by Birch, James Gunn, and Jeremy Slater. The film is based on the 1990 The New Yorker magazine article Coyote versus Acme by Ian Fraser, which itself is based on the cartoon character Wile E. Coyote and the Acme Corporation from Looney Tunes. So this is what it's based on. But what is the story actually about? After every product made by the Acme Corporation has backfired on Wile E. Coyote in his pursuit of the Roadrunner, and a down-and-out billboard human attorney represents Wile E. in his lawsuit to sue Acme. A growing friendship between Wile E. Coyote and his lawyer motivates their determination to win the court case, as it pits him against the intimidating boss of Wile's lawyer, former law firm, who now represents Acme. So a little background here. If you guys don't remember, if you're not familiar with Looney Tunes, Wile E. Coyote always used the Acme products to try to catch the Roadrunner. Okay. Very violent, blew up all the time, blew up in his face. It never worked out. So it's just a very funny cartoon. So the actual idea that he is suing Acme now is very clever. It is a live action film, so it kind of is like a Roger Rabbit. And, it just sounds like a really, really good idea of something that has been going on for a long time. Are you guys familiar with the cartoon?
Yeah,
I
Oh
like to
yeah.
use words instead of
Yeah.
nodding there, Madam.
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I was reaching for the unmute. Oh, of course. I love watching those when I was a kid.
Would you consider Wile E. Coyote the heel or the baby face in those cartoons?
Um, I thought he was the heel. I mean, he was the one trying to commit murder.
But do we ever know why?
Yeah, because that was his prey. He was trying
Mhm.
to eat.
What? I mean, I always thought the Roadrunner was kind of annoying.
He was that Meep Meep. Ah, how would you not want to stop him?
No, very annoying, smug piece of shit. But did he deserve to be hunted? I don't know. Circle of life,
Circle
food
of
chain,
Life.
food
Great
chain.
song. Great song.
Okay. Why don't
So
you
on November
sing a few bars?
so on November 9th, 2023, Warner Brothers officials announced that the film was completed, but they would not release it because Warner Brothers Discovery preferred to claim a tax loss of about 30 million. The crew was not informed of the decision until after the film was completed. The move drew criticism from filmmakers, animation outlets, and talent representatives. Several filmmakers left angry phone calls with Warner Brothers expressing their frustration at the move. Others also canceled meetings with the studio. Many noted that the film had drawn praise as a test screenings and interest from potential buyers. Director Dave Green voiced his disappointment over the film's cancellation, further emphasizing his love for Looney Tunes and writing that we were all determined to honor the legacies of these historic characters and actually get them right. Then on November 13th, 2023, Puck Magazine reported Warner Brothers Discovery leaders had reversed their decision and allowed the filmmakers the option to shop the film to other distributors. Deadline Hollywood reported that Amazon, MGM Studios, Apple Studios, and Netflix were interested in buying the distribution rights to the film. The Wrap reported that despite interest from distributors to buy the film, there are currently no hard offers, and that Green is crafting his own PR campaign. On December 8th, December Hollywood further reported that the film had been screened for more studios, including Paramount Pictures and Sony Pictures. Of these, Netflix and Paramount had made bids, with latter including a theatrical component. Amazon was still interested despite making no formal bids, and Sony and Apple were not planning to make bids. So right off the bat here, they're selling the movie and they're making bids. Someone's got to buy the movies. Now, Looney Tunes is a Warner production. So they just released a movie recently, The Day the Earth Stood Still, I believe it's called. Warner Brothers. So in January of 2024, actor Eric Bosser posted the first official image of the film on social media. On February 9, 2024, The Wrap reported that the Warner Brothers Discovery had rejected the bids from Netflix, Amazon, and Paramount. The company wanted $75 to $80 million to sell the film, but no distributors met their price, and Warner Brothers Discovery rejected the counterbids. The company considered shelving and deleting the film, which remained in limbo, and again claiming it was a tax loss, following their Q4 23 earnings call on February 23, 2024. Warner Brothers Discovery took a $115 million write-down while not directly confirming the cancellation of the film. On March 10, 2024, during the red carpet for the 96 Academy Awards, Birch had a conversation we're still ongoing with Warner Brothers, and we hope that it will somehow find its home and not end up stuck in a vault for the rest of time. In April of 2024, Warner Brothers spokesman told the New York Times that while the fate of the film is unclear, it remains available for acquisition. On January 25th, 2025, speaking with Screen Rant at press junket for Valiant 1, Condor revealed that the film had a funeral screening. Now, for those of you that don't know what that is, that means that is it, and the people that are watching it or the people that are in it are somehow a part of it, and it's not for anybody else to see. Which news of the initial cancellation was first broken. So on February 16th, 2025, when asked by Screen Rant at the Writers Guild America if the film had a chance to be released, Bosser responded, "That is a question of the year, and it's only February. I'm going to say yes. If the movie The Day the Earth Blew Up," that's what it was, I'm sorry, a Looney Tunes movie opening March 14th in theaters everywhere, gets a lot of money, then we might see Coyote versus Acme. Stranger things have happened. Now, him saying that does not sound good to me. And if we don't, I'm going to put that movie under everyone's seat as a DVD. No, I'm just kidding. So, there's a lot more to this. And one of the quotes I really liked was Forte. So you have John Cena in this, you have Forte in this. He wrote, "I know a lot of you haven't got a chance to see our movie, and sadly, it's looking like you never will. When I first heard that our movie was getting deleted, I hadn't seen it yet, so I was thinking that everyone else must have been thinking this must be a hunk of junk. But then I saw it, and it's incredible. Please know that all the years and years of hard work, dedication, and the love that you put into this movie shows in every frame. That's all, folks." Now, as of today, I decided, I've been researching this for a little while. Maybe something has happened in the last couple weeks. Well, so this is from Deadline. Warner Brothers shelved movie Coyote versus Acme finally might have found a new home. With the studio deep in sales negotiation, Garth West distributor financier Ketchup Entertainment is negotiating an all rights acquisition in the $50 million range for an animated live-action hybrid movie, the live-action hybrid movie. Ketchup last year rescued the same studios The Day of the Earth Blew Up Looney Tunes movie. So they actually rescued that one. The pact isn't finalized, and there's still a chance it doesn't make it, but it's headed in the right direction. Should it get over the line, the film will get a theatrical release hopefully in 2026. So that is some good news. It's just so funny to me. Like, what is so this is the most political thing I've heard. This is a movie that's done. It's done being made, and they're not putting it out. It's that you had to pay the actors. Am I right?
Mhm.
John
Yeah.
Cena had to get paid,
Well, that's why there's a loss.
but there doesn't have to be. And even if I don't, I guess I don't know the ins and outs and the political parts of it, and I don't pretend to be an entertainment expert, but no movie is definitely a loss. You know,
So I love this topic.
I'm
And
sure.
and before you mentioned the tease this last week, I really didn't even know about this. I mean, I can't know about everything. Um, I will say this. You mentioned the recent release of the Looney Tunes movie. The I know it did very poorly, very poorly. In fact, every movie that's come out in the last couple of months has basically tanked. Like every movie. Queen of the Ring, a wrestling movie. We're gonna like it. We're gonna see it. Us wrestling fans, horrible at the box office. Brand new Robert De Niro mobby type of movie, terrible. Like everything that's coming out is doing terrible. So if there's any relation to how this recent Looney Tunes release is going to affect the one we're talking about here, it's not positive. Um,
But Bugs Bunny is not in this movie that's out right now. Isn't that
No,
weird to
it's
you?
huh.
yeah, it's Daffy and Porky Pig.
Yeah,
You think that's why it didn't draw?
I don't know, but I do think he's the star of the show. Now I don't know if he's in Coyote versus Acme either. I have a because I don't remember Coyote and Bugs Bunny
But
ever being in the
but
same
but the
frame.
difference with that though is you still have the big names. You have a Will Forte, you have a John Cena, you have
Yeah,
the mainstream stars to
and it's a
draw
live
in the
action
audience,
movie.
and live action makes it different there.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think it would do. I think it would, I'm not saying it'd be a. I don't know,
Mm,
but it's not going to do anything without being released.
it's true. I just wish we had an executive at Paramount we could talk to and wonder why they didn't pick this up. I mean,
No,
crazy to think. I
maybe
mean,
we can get somebody on the show one day to talk about their
yeah.
financial decisions that are
I
very.
don't even mind it being released in Netflix because honestly, because that's where these things do well, isn't it?
It's
In
streaming. Yeah,
streaming
streaming's the way
world.
things have gone. I
No,
mean,
there should be a streaming deal eventually, but
which which is the surprising part because if you think of Warner Brothers, that's a tie-in with Max. You could tie that almost in with Max because you think of like Boomerang, which is a network which was the Looney Tunes and all those old shows. It's got its own site on Max as well.
Interesting you say that, but Max has now, after acquiring that, has recently got rid of a lot of the Looney Tunes original shorts, and it seems like they're moving away from it.
I
Uh,
don't
they
know.
they
Yeah.
they took a lot of it off the air, which means it's not people aren't watching it. It's the
Yeah,
only thing I
I
can.
mean,
Why would you
you
take
got
anything off the air that people are watching?
Well,
They own it.
also,
They own it.
also let's also think of this too, and this is something I'm sure my generation's really the last generation of these Looney Tunes. How many of those are I'm going to say politically correct anymore, and a lot of these are being taken off due to the
that's true.
political correctness of a lot
Could
of those
be,
cartoons.
but but I would say the newer stuff would not be.
Newer stuff, no, absolutely.
Probably.
But like I'm thinking of like the stuff from like my childhood. Obviously your guys as well. Of a lot of that stuff doesn't age well. Let's be
Well, yeah. I mean,
realistic.
if you think about the Elmer Fudd and just Bugs Bunny by them, with the guns,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then you have Wile E. Coyote getting blown up with dynamite. I
yeah.
mean, now again, a live action movie's PG, so it's a little bit of a different situation. Maybe you are focusing on kids and adults. Maybe like a night at museum type movie. Something like that. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Stuff that can get the whole family going. Maybe not little kids.
there's tons. I mean, I have a young kid, so I end up watching a lot of those movies. There was a Tom and Jerry movie, The Hybrid. There was the Sonic the Hedgehog movies are like that. Um, and they're honestly they're I have a hard time with them. It's like they're going for a dual appeal. How can we entertain the kids? And we know the parents are there too. And it just I don't know. I don't love them all. Although I like the last Sonic movie a lot.
I like the Sonic movies. Now, a couple of other movies that recently weren't made. 2021's Batgirl. Same situation. They are not going to put it out. It is a complete movie.
Batgirl.
Batgirl.
That was one I was going to mention as well as
Yeah.
kind of a they got it all the way done, finished, completed, and then just wrote it off as a loss. I believe it was a $90 million loss or
Scoob
something.
Holiday Haunt is another one, which is a prequel to Scoob the movie, Scooby Doo, obviously. Just weird. And this has been going on for a long, long time where these movies are just made and they just sit there and they do nothing. Funeral screening. So I just wanted to ask you guys before we lock this up. This was a little bit of a different topic for me. It was kind of a mix. But is there any movie that you feel that was a huge blockbuster? They should have said, you know what? It's finished. Let's shelve it. Anyone you got in mind? And I did mention this last week.
What do you mean?
Is there any blockbuster that came out that you said they should have just shelved it instead and cut their losses?
Like
I
a
believe I named a Fast and Furious franchise last week.
yeah.
All right, for me, I'll just kick it off. Wild Wild West with Will Smith. Should have
That's
never
probably
happened.
a good one. I think there's a one that I know Bryant will agree with, and a lot of people will agree with is Joker 2 didn't land, right?
That was actually going to be the one that I mentioned. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely not okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
I liked it, but I understand why it didn't land. All right, I have more. I don't. Hopefully, we don't have to rush off this topic because I have some other things I'd like to say.
Go ahead.
First of all, to backtrack, you were talking about License to Drive, which I actually never saw, but you mentioned a female lead. It was Heather Graham, right?
Heather Graham, yes.
Yeah, she must have been very young. Um, so I two things I want to say. We could probably do an episode in the future on, they've started to make these movies based on IP who's existed long enough that the copyright has expired, so it's become public domain. That's starting to happen with the Mickey Mouse characters, Winnie the Pooh. So I know people are out there making these like low budget like horror movies based on these once, long time beloved characters like
you mean you
Mickey.
haven't seen Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey?
Have not. I
Ah,
I know that it exists. I don't know if it's episode worthy. Maybe you can tell us. I do know there's like an evil Grinch movie called The Mean One.
yep.
Want
It's
to see
horrible.
that? You saw it?
No, I refuse to see all these terrible
I
movies.
feel like I got to check some of these out.
No.
Um,
But I know what all the movies you're talking about because they show up on Facebook.
yeah,
I don't even know if they're real half the time.
they're not always real. You got to look
No.
it up. You got to, yeah. So, knowing that you were going to do this topic, I started to do some research on like, what are other things in media that were projected to come out but didn't. So I wanted to briefly talk about an album that was once supposed to maybe come out and never came to fruition. And it was an album by Pink Floyd. I love Pink Floyd. I'm sure even if you don't know Pink Floyd, you probably have some familiarity with their biggest album they ever did from 1973, Dark Side of the Moon. It was on the Billboard charts for years and years and years, decades. It has songs on it that everybody probably knows, whether you realize it or not. Now, the band had a dilemma on their hands. What were they going to do after that? How do you follow that up? They were unsure of the direction and worried about how to top that. How do you top that record's popularity? So they wanted to go completely experimental on the next album, and it was going to be called Household Objects. And they were not going to use traditional instruments. They were going to use household items like rubber bands stretched between tables, wine glasses, you can like rub on the top of the wine glass and make sounds, or like mixers that you would use in the kitchen. And they worked on this project for like a month and they had like 5 minutes worth of music and it just turned out to be not it was just never going to happen. It was an idea that was just never going to work.
Hmm.
Many years later, they ended up releasing like two like demo tracks from it, and I gotta say they're actually not bad. But it's just it's not a song. It's just like a piece of a melody. and it sounded nice and it sounded psychedelic and it sounded, like how Pink Floyd sounds, but they were just never actually going to get to the point where it could be an actual album. But it's interesting to me that, you know, after you do something that's so globally successful, it's tough to follow up, you know. Michael Jackson, he put out Thriller. It was like the biggest album ever. And sure, he had plenty of success after that, but he always wanted to do better than Thriller, and that was just never going to be possible, you know? It's just sometimes it's just not possible.
I guess. Is a guitar considered a household item?
Oh, is this a China reference? How's Good Housekeeping match? What was that pay-per-view? Unforgiven 99? Did I get that
Yep.
right?
No Mercy 99.
Oh
No.
no. Is that the same night as the ladder match then?
Yeah, it
Wow.
was the same show. Same show.
Wow.
The night that Jeff Jarrett held up the Gund Arena and Vince McMahon
Yeah.
to get paid off.
That ladder match, man. I remember watching that, and that was big time for me. There's a little bit of wrestling. What's next?
All right, so we haven't done this in a while. Jumbo eggs. And if you don't remember what jumbo eggs are, it's when we meet celebrities. I mean, we're probably running out. But Bryant, which wrestler have you met?
I would like to talk about someone who is just absolutely dreamy, absolutely just captivating on the screen. Someone who just takes your breath away every time you
Oh
see
my
them.
gosh, Trish Stratus.
I mean, and it's just someone that the moment I met them, I got excited and giddy, and just being in their presence, just again, just the beauty of them is just so amazing. And of course, naturally, I am talking about Finn Balor. And Finn Balor is just so dreamy, and he is so cool and so amazing that I got to meet him at WrestleMania. There was a WWE Fitterman's group, and they let you go and take a picture. You got to chat with them. And I always am just taken aback by he's just, oh my gosh, the 8-pack alone just gets you. But he's also just so cool. I enjoyed his work from when he was in New Japan as Prince Devitt, and getting the chance to actually go and talk to him, see him, interact with him, and see kind of how he treats fans was a cool experience. It was something I remember, and like I said, he's just. I mean, look at him. He's just freaking dreamy. Come on, guys.
My wife's a big fan. Likes the
As she
8-pack.
should be. Ah,
He is a cool guy. I wish he was doing a little more. I mean, I guess he is doing a lot.
I'd like him to
He's
split
been
away
a
from
heel
that.
for so long
Yeah, he
now that
needs to get out of that Judgment Day thing. Go back to being,
doesn't look. I don't know now. I thought it was over. Now I don't know. I'd
yeah.
like to get his old music back. I'd like to see him get it
Yes. Oh,
again once in a while. I would like him back to what he was, but I am a fan of
absolutely.
his. I would like to see him get a good push again.
I agree. Same.
Virgil.
Brad? Fergal.
Virgil McDevitt.
Yep.
And I did not realize this, and maybe this was common knowledge, but I didn't know. But I read Becky Lynch's book, and they had dated when they were much younger. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, there's only two people in Ireland, so
Yeah. Ireland's a very small area. So.
yeah, he's like there's them two and maybe Seamus. That's it. So all right, I'm going to talk about who I have met, and I have met this gentleman a few times, but I want to talk about a specific time. So I went to WrestleMania last year, and I was there from Thursday, and then I left on Monday. On Thursday night, I went to a bar called McCusker's, and it was for Meanie Mania. What's Meanie Mania? Well, it was the Blue Meanie. Now, for those of you who don't know, Blue Meanie is a wrestler. He was pretty big during the big during the Attitude Era. He was part of the Job Squad. Would hang around with Gold Dust a little bit, but he was also very impressive. He's a bigger guy, and he could do a moonsault. And he had the blue hair. Everybody remembers the Blue Meanie that watched wrestling. So he was there, and he lives in South Philadelphia, so he's there all the time. He's available to people to talk to. He's very nice. However, that night of Meanie Mania, I was just there, and I was with our good friend Dominic D'Angelo, and he got married that night in the bar. Meanie Mania got married to his longtime girlfriend or fiance, and we all celebrated with him, like, just been friends for years. So that's my jumbo eggs. Meanie Mania, Blue Meanie, Brian Heffron.
Hmm. Hey, you know, I know I didn't know that you were there the night he did that impromptu wedding. How did I
Yeah,
not know this?
I know. I mean, I was texting you the whole time about how you should have been there.
Yeah, you were really mad.
Well, WrestleMania does come in your area all the time.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's
never
there
again.
every. I mean, it's there either WrestleMania, SummerSlam. All the big shows always go to your area. So
Always, every year.
There's never gonna be a WrestleMania in the Northeast again.
Well, it
No,
depends if
not
you
gonna
have a
happen.
dome.
It's not gonna happen. The
All
weather.
right.
The weather wasn't cooperative. SummerSlam, they did it. They're doing 2-day SummerSlam here. There you go. Problem
So I
solved.
was it's funny you say that. I rewatched the WrestleMania I went to because I was sick on Sunday and I was in bed and I was kind of in and out of sleep. I'll tell you what, everybody can say how cold it was that night one and night two or night one. And that crowd response was still excellent, no matter how cold it was, and everything went through just fine. So I don't know really what the complaining
No, it
was.
was a
You're
great
going to
run.
schedule something in April, early April in the Northeast. That's at your own risk, and I think it really can't get much better than the situation. Yes, it was a little cold the first night, but at least it wasn't raining. At least it wasn't snowing.
Yeah.
You know, it
I know
did.
this is
It did
go,
storm in Tampa Bay. And
it's true.
that's Florida. And guess
I
what?
was
They had
at that one.
Yeah.
I was at that one. But I
I know
mean,
this
like,
is going to step on the topic a little bit here because I have to ask this. When I go to shows, pay per views like I've been to WrestleManias. I've never watched them back. I was there. I never watch it again. Do you
this
guys
is
do that when you go to shows? Do you go back and watch it later? Or do you
a
just,
good.
I
This
was
is a
there, that's
good
good
answer.
enough?
I rewatched WrestleMania because that was I wouldn't I've never rewatched anything else.
I'd say yes. I rewatch. I thought we're going down a road here that someone's not going to be happy about. But I thought you were going to say sometimes the weather makes it so you can't even go to the show.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you don't even rewatch that.
Nope. Still haven't.
Yeah,
Hopefully Tony gets back to you on that one.
Bitter.
let's see.
Still bitter.
All right, Matt, who's your jumbo?
So my jumbo egg is not a wrestler.
Good.
Okay. Many years ago when I was in high school, I met Phil Simms,
Nice.
Oh, that's
uh,
cool.
New York Giants quarterback, MVP of Super Bowl 21, I think, and they beat the Denver Broncos. He was 22 for 25 passing, which I'm pretty sure is still the highest completion percentage for a quarterback in the Super Bowl for X amount of pass attempts.
Yes.
So I played football in high school, and it was over the summer. We would have like various training camps and stuff. And there was a training camp in a town nearby, and he was like a guest instructor. I don't know what you two jerks are laughing at.
Oh,
I just
no,
smelled
nothing.
junior mints. I've been not eating so healthy. My wife's had these junior mints here,
Oh,
and
I
I just
just
wanted to smell them because they smell good.
I
Go ahead,
just
Matt.
looked up and
Sorry.
he's just taking a whiff out of this box and it just threw me off.
it's a junior mint.
Yeah.
So Phil Sims was like a guest instructor there for the day. So, it was kind of cool. Everybody got to meet him. And I was with a handful of other guys. And we just like happened to run into him, like not as part of the scheduled event, like just, like near the parking lot or something. And I remember we just like there was like footballs laying around that were like part of the clinic, and we just like grabbed them as if they were ours and just had him sign it. So I think I still have one. But one of the guys I was with, we were doing like special handshakes with him. And I remember my friend said, "Oh, well, let's do the lumberjack handshake," which I don't remember seeing it anywhere else in my life, but we did this handshake where you grab on each other's thumbs and you do like a lumberjack motion. So we did the lumberjack handshake with Phil Sims, and this would have been late '90s, so upwards of 25 years ago.
One
But
thing I
there you
remember
have.
about Phil Sims the most was that he was one of the first people I remember saying, "You won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do now? I'm going to Disney World." I remember him saying, I don't know if he was first, but I
Yeah,
that's the one I remember saying it first.
he did win the Super Bowl.
He did. Go Giants.
Dang.
Go Giants! They did win. They won 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, we've won two.
Yeah, I know.
But more recently.
That's true.
Great, Matt. Great job. So, Brian, I threw you another bone this week. Eggs Benedict with Brian Haremza. What is that, Brian?
Eggs Benedict is about turns, whether it's going from being a good guy to a bad guy to a good guy. Covers a lot of ground, obviously, with the genre of wrestling, as we, Brad and I just talked about meeting some wrestlers. But I'm not going to talk wrestling. I'm going to talk about one of my favorite movies. Actually, it is a little movie that came out in 2009, and it's called Law Abiding Citizen. Stars Gerard Butler and Jamie Foxx. The movie is that during a home invasion, Clyde Shelton, which is Gerard Butler, has his wife and daughter murdered in front of him during a home invasion. And they capture one of the guys, and they capture the men involved in the home invasion. And Jamie Foxx, who's kind of this new upstart young attorney, he comes in and cuts a deal. And one of the guys eventually gets off while turning on the other guy. And Gerard Butler's character doesn't feel that that's really justice. That's not serving the purpose and, honoring and, protecting Americans and, protecting what happened to his family. And so he kind of starts this little, I'm not going to call it grudge, but he kind of goes on this path of what he calls as vengeance and redemption for his family. And, it fast forwards to the day when one of the home invaders, whose name is Clarence Darby, is serving out his term, and he's being sentenced to lethal injection. And it's a very agonizing death where, nobody knows what's happening. And then all of a sudden it's the other person involved in the home invasion is taken and killed as well. And then when they've realized, through investigations that it's Clyde Shelton, he gives himself up and admits to everything, but also then turns it around on Jamie Foxx and his character, saying that, basically the system is broken. It is your job to fix it, or everyone you love will suffer the consequences. And it's the story of this guy who's, this model American citizen who does everything right. He's an architect, he builds, and then this incident occurs and he feels he's wronged. And, in this situation, the legal system, these lawyers, the judges, they've wronged him. And it is his job to seek the vengeance for his family. And it is a very elaborate story of tunneling into prisons, tunneling out of prisons, making up all these new identities to seek out his vengeance and redemption for his family. And I just think it's an interesting story of, obviously I don't have, I have a wife, but I don't have any children. So the story, seems, I'm always told a parent's redemption to protect their family and their kids is always different. My kid's a dog and a cat. It's not really the same as a human, but to see the love that he has, and it's, he's admitting he's doing it to, the story of his daughter, because he wants to help, she doesn't get the story. So he's trying to show that, he took this story, so he's taking it away from everyone else. The story's good. I like the story. I like the plot to it. And, spoiler for a movie that's, 20 years old, almost 20 years old, it's found out when they've realized he's tunneled out of prison. Jamie Foxx, captures him, traps him in the prison, and that's inevitably how he's killed. So he doesn't, serve his term either. But, they get he gets his redemption by stopping the trail of, bodies that Gerard Butler has left. Interesting story, interesting premise. And like I said, it's just that vengeance for your family. And that seems to be always one of those things in movies that causes these turns quite a bit. So
very good. It's a very well-liked movie.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was, again, we were on the Kickout crew, and I remember that Adam said that was his favorite movie, which threw me off. But it's a very well-liked movie that got terrible reviews. And so
yeah.
But people like it, which goes to show, just watch what you like. But I do like, that's a good movie, and that's a good example, man. I'm really happy that you brought that up. Oh, good one, Matt.
Yeah.
I saw the movie. I liked it. I remember thinking it was one of those movies, I think maybe it suffered a little bit from getting like progressively far-fetched as the movie went on.
I mean, when there's a scene where they find the tunnels that he had built, and you realize that he's tunneled into like all these different isolation chambers and how far these tunnels go, and you're like, okay, yeah, it's 10 years later, but at this point, this is what you've been doing. It's like that's kind of part of the. I understand where you're going with that thought there.
Yeah, I mean, that happens sometimes with movies, like especially if there's an action element to it. It's like story, movie, and then, seven things happen in a row that are, they can't actually happen in real life. But I do remember liking it. I only saw it the one time.
Yeah, I think I did too.
I remember my aunt. Sometimes I remember these very specific little moments of no meaning, but I remember my aunt saw. I had already seen it. My aunt saw it, and she goes, "Matthew, you got to watch this movie, Law Abiding Citizen. It's about the law." That was her. That was her pitch for me to watch the movie.
Well done, Bryant. All right, Matt. Well, it's been another great episode. Why don't you go ahead and kick us some of those socials, huh?
Well, thanks for listening. This has been Three Eggs Are Better Than One, and we are cooking up every Monday morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts. Find us on YouTube at Three Eggs Are Better Than One. The number three, the letter R, the number one. Follow us on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok at Three Eggs Are Better. The number three and the letter R. On our individual accounts at Yes Man Brad, at B Haremza, and I am at Purple Shirt Guy without the I. Come on down to Apple for some 5-star reviews. We're waiting on some of those. And what do we got going on next week? Brian, I think it's going to be your topic, right?
It is, and we're going to talk about some world records. We have some obvious world records. We have, fastest cars, tallest man, oldest woman, but we're not going to talk about those. We're going to talk about the world records that make you question, why do we have world records? Some world records like the tallest stack of hats ever made, the most weight lifted by your eye socket, or one that I've enjoyed as I've been doing my research for this, which is also, the heaviest train pulled by a beard. We'll go through some of these world records and many more next week when we are on the show. So, and on that note,
good, man. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And on that note, that's been this week. We thank you guys for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed the topics and going through everything. And we hope that your favorite movie gets to come out very soon and doesn't get to join the list that Brad has talked about today. As always, the egg timer's been set, and we'll see you guys next week.